knowledge. Babies 4 months short of their first birthdays already have what I call a language sense. They can detect statistical patterns in which sounds go together in their native language or languages to determine the beginnings and endings of words in a sea of sounds, as the studies of Jenny Safran of the University of Wisconsin show. Since babies that young can't talk, how can researchers possibly know this? Babies, like all of us, are drawn to anything new, so the researchers give babies something to listen to or look at that is new to them, and they look or listen until they get bored. At that point, the researcher presents them with other things to listen to or look at and can tell from the baby's reactions which things the babies view as new, measured by longer listening or looking times, and which they see as familiar, measured by shorter listening or looking times. So when Jenny Safran and her colleagues presented babies with a made-up language and, in subsequent studies, with a language they didn't know, they found that babies seem to use an almost statistical-like process to learn that certain sounds are likely to follow other sounds in that language. As a result, the babies became bored with and stopped listening to the made-up or the unfamiliar language after a while, but showed renewed interest when they were presented with new combinations of sounds. Similar studies have shown that infants 6 months old and even younger have a number sense. They can detect the difference between large and small numbers of things, such as the difference between 8 and 16 dots, or the difference between a large and a small number of times that a puppet jumps or a car honks its horn, as seen in the studies of Elizabeth Spelk and her colleagues of Harvard University. And they have what I call a people sense. They focus on people's intentions rather than seeing what people do as random movements in space, as shown by the studies of Amanda Woodward of the University of Maryland. By 6 months, they can tell the difference between who's helpful and who's not, which Kylie Hamlin, Karen Wynn, and Paul Bloom of Yale demonstrate by showing the children a puppet-like show where a round circle with big eyes tries to reach the top of a hill and is helped up to the top by a square, but pushed down the hill by a triangle. After the children view the show, an experimenter who doesn't know what has happened in the experiment, so as not to influence the babies, enters and places the triangle and the square on a tray in front of the baby, to which one he or she reaches for. Will the 6-month-old reach for the character that helped the circle achieve its goal, the helper, or the character that prevented the circle from achieving its goal, the hinderer? Or is there no pattern to the baby's choices? Of course, the researchers sometimes used the triangle as the helper and the square as the hinderer. Hamlin says, "We found impressively that almost 100% of the babies in a number of different studies preferred the more positive character." Yes, babies' capacities are truly amazing. But even more amazing is that we now know how to take advantage of these capacities to help babies and their older sisters and brothers develop the essential life skills that will serve them throughout their lives. Executive functions of the brain. Another theme in the research is that the skills I see as crucial, based on reviewing the research on children and on my own research on the adult skills needed for the 21st century, all involve, in one way or another, the prefrontal cortex of the brain. Child development researchers call these executive functions of the brain. Some people don't like the word executive because it conjures up an image of a boss in your brain ordering you around. Instead, think of executive brain functions as managing, not ordering. We use them to manage our attention, our emotions, and our behavior in order to reach our goals. Nor are they just intellectual skills. They involve weaving together our social, emotional, and intellectual capacities. They begin to emerge during the preschool years and don't mature until young adulthood. Here are some key aspects of executive functions. They are always driven by goals. They involve using our working memory to keep a number of different things in mind at the same time.